you so much for joining me. This is Kathy, and today I'll be creating a card using nothing but dies. It is a collaboration with Marla over at Mad About Cards and Crafts. I'll be sure to link to her video below, and I encourage you to check out her channel. She does some amazing stuff. So I know I flipped through the products that I'm using really quick. I'll be sure to have all of those linked in the description below for you. But I wanted to share with you what I found to be the easiest way to get all of my dies cut out rather quickly. So the main die set that I'm using is the Build a Garden die set by Whimsy Stamps. And what I chose to do was dig through all of my patterned paper and use up some of the scraps that I had. So for the tiny pieces, I just cut them down to a little bit smaller to fit the small flower dies. And I put all of those onto my cutting plates for my Gemini Junior all at once and ran them all through my die cut machine at one time. That made it a lot faster using the smaller scraps of cardstock, and double bonus, I got to use up a bunch of scraps of cardstock. Anyway, after I had run everything through my die cut machine, I did decide to add a little bit of ink to the edges of my flowers. For the tulip, I used persimmon ink by My Favorite Things. For the small daisy type of flower, I used Coral Crush. And for the larger daisy flower, I used pineapple ink. And I just used one of my makeup blending brushes to add a little bit of ink around those edges. I set those aside and then I started to piece together my card. I had run a piece of Coral Crush cardstock and a piece of Gingham cardstock through my die cutting machine with stitched rectangle dies. I adhered the Coral Crush cardstock to the front of a top folding A2 size note card and then adhered the gingham paper on top of that. Next, I started to put all of my flowers together and adhere them all to the watering can. For the stem of the tulip, I just cut a tiny sliver using my Tim Holtz paper trimmer, and I thought I should probably get that glued onto the tulip flower itself so that I didn't lose it because it was so small. Next, I adhered the leaves to the small daisy. I kept flipping it over to see if I had them placed where I wanted them, and the nice thing about using liquid glue is that you have wiggle time, and I was able to move them so that I had them in a spot that I liked much better. I adhered that to the front of the watering can, and then I thought I should probably get that watering can adhered to my white circle because I wanted to be able to tuck the tulip behind that little daisy. So with a little bit of liquid glue, I adhered that to the front of the white circle and then added more glue to the back of the tulip. I wasn't worried about getting glue on the stem itself because it would catch some of the glue that was on the back side of the watering can. Tucked that in and pressed that into place. And then I added the leaves to the tulip. When Marla and I were chatting about the collaboration and what we were going to do, it was her idea to do a card without using any stamps. At first I thought this would be a little bit difficult because I do love my stamps. But as I was digging through my dies and I found this Build a Garden set by Whimsy, I thought, oh, that would be just perfect to do, not only because it's a really cute set, but because it's springtime, and what's better than a watering can filled with flowers? Anyway, it ended up not being too bad, and I'm really happy with how this card turned out. I would say that what took the longest is me going through all of my patterned paper, which most of my patterned paper now is all 6x6. I stopped buying 12x12 paper because I just wasn't ever using it, and I ended up donating a whole bunch of it to a local Head Start program here. Anyway, back to the card. I adhered the white circle to a white scalloped circle and then put a whole bunch of foam tape on the back side of that and adhered that to the front of my card. Off screen, while I was fiddling around with the placement of the sentiment, I didn't really like how the green hello was so flat against the gingham paper, so I decided to cut it a second time from white cardstock. And I adhered those together, but when I stacked the green on top of the white, I offset it slightly, just so that there would be like a little bit of a white shadow behind it. I used liquid glue, of course, to adhere that into place. And the next thing I did was I added a couple of ladybugs to my watering can. And the ladybugs are actually clay pieces that I received from Trinity Stamps. I actually won one of their Happy Mail contests over on their Facebook page, and I was really excited about that. And these ladybugs were just perfect to finish off that card. For the flower centers, I wanted to use pearls just to have a little bit more dimension, and I didn't have any pearls in the correct color. So an easy fix for that is just to add color with a Copic marker. After you color the pearl with the Copic, you do want to let it sit for a second or two because the ink will come off on your fingers if you don't wait. Anyway, after I had those pearls colored, I put them into place, and then I decided to add some highlights with my white gel pen. So I added a few dashes here and there on the watering can itself. I wasn't too happy with part of it, so I wiped it off with my finger, and then I decided that I needed to add it back in. Still not too sure that I love the highlights on the watering can, but I guess it's okay. I also added 3 little dots using my white gel pen on each of the letters in the word hello. And then I decided that I needed to have my watering can sitting on something because it was just kind of floating in air. So I decided to add just a little bit of a grassy bottom to that. I started with YG17 and just did swipes back and forth left to right. And I blended that out with YG03. Went back in with the YG17 to get it a little bit darker underneath the watering can. And then I used YG17 just to add some blades of grass. And then to soften out some of the harsher lines from those blades of grass, I did a quick swipe with my YG03. And that finishes up my card for today. The link for Marla's video, again, is in the description below. And I encourage you to check out her channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've not yet subscribed, I'd love it if you would. And don't forget to ring the bell so you're notified every time a new video is posted. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.